Digging it. Now I'm thinking of that goddamn song from what is it, Walking Tall? You get a rhythm, and you sing the blues, get a rhythm, or something like that. I know like 2 Johnny Cash songs that weren't in that movie. That's it. All right, so Marcus, I am ready when you are, my friend.
Let's do it.
All right, we are going to go live in 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to the Friday show. It's your top 10 Wrestling Underground top 10 podcast thingy that we do on the regular. Fucking Christ, what was that opening? I'm your host, Chad Porto. Joining me, as always, is Marcus Green. Marcus, top 10 cruiserweights that were underutilized in the WWE. Let's get into it. Number 10. I'm going with the Brian Kendrick, although not the more known version. I'm going with it when he was Spanky. I think the best part was he came out to sing an apology song to The Undertaker. He's very, very sorry. And then The Undertaker just fucking makes him into a smudge on the canvas. Oh, he would finally get some love in 2006 with his tag team with Paul London. But before then, he was kind of just underutilized. And it was disappointing because he's super talented in the ring, even if he's not all that interesting on the mic. Speaking of which, Marcus, number 9, who'd you got?
I'm going with somebody who talks smack, could fly, and smash you in the mouth all at the same time. I'm going with the Mr. Cash himself, Kid Cash, that is. I think we will see more of what he could do in a certain capacity when he went to Impact for that stint that he had. But he was somebody who was clearly underutilized, and I think he had, unfortunately, more success because of, I guess, the regime at that time in a tag team with Jamie Noble. I think they was like the Pitbulls or something.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
To that effect. Yeah. But and it worked. But I think Cash was definitely somebody that could have got it done on his own. So yeah, definitely Cash was definitely underutilized.
He was swole Cash in TNA, so
yeah.
Peak Cash. Number 8, I'm going with someone who technically qualifies because he was still a competitor when WWE bought WCW in 2001, and that's Dean Malenko. I'll take any era of Dean Malenko over just about anyone else besides maybe Sting and 1992 Scott Steiner. He was peak Steiner back then. Dean Malenko just, for whatever reason, the WWE didn't know how to use him, and it's a damn shame. And it shows just how bad Vince is at booking. I mean, truly, how can you fuck up Dean Malenko? Technically, he was a light heavyweight champion and not a cruiserweight competitor in the WWE, but he was a multi-time cruiserweight champion in WCW. I think he counts. So he's my my number 8. Marcus, number 7. Guess we lost Marcus again. Marcus.
Holy hell, the mute button is my enemy. Yeah, I'm going with Spank's tag team partner eventually in 2006 when they had that great tag team run. I'm going with former cruiserweight champion Paul London. Paul London was another guy who, given the opportunity to perhaps evolve his character a little bit, he could have gone further. And he eventually, like I said, would follow cruiserweight success with tag success. But he's another guy I think that could have been a breakout. He was must see a lot of times. So.
I don't know if Brian Kendrick's still under WWE contract, but I hope for the day where Kendrick gets fired so London and Kendrick can finally take on the MCMG in Impact. That'll be a fracking match and a half, man. That'll be awesome. My next pick is going to be the ultimate one, and that's the Ultimo one, and that's the Ultimo Dragon. Really, his only big moment in WWE came when he tripped on his own shit at WrestleMania 20. I think he tripped on his cape and biffed it real hard to the point where even on replays of the event, they take it from a different angle. Funny as hell. But he was also technically, somewhat semi-retired before this because he had nerve damage in his hand. So this was like a big deal. He could still go in the ring, but for whatever reason, the WWE didn't see much value in him. Partly because he's a masked wrestler, and partly because he's a Japanese guy. WWE doesn't like doing stuff with Japanese guys, and all you gotta do is look at modern day WWE to go, oh yeah, no, that's still true. Oh wow, Marcus, next one up.
Let's see. Oh yes, we going with the guy that was just draped in that Latino swag, if you will. And another guy who was must see, and I don't know if it was stuff with him personally or what have you, just the company. And we saw him with a faction known as the Mexicals later, which was stereotypical as piss, but when working for Vince McMahon, it comes with the territory. I'm talking about Juventud Guerrero.
Fun fact, he was fired from WCW because he got super fucking wasted in Australia and went running around Sydney naked.
It's that hoovy juice.
It's that hoovy juice. My next one up is actually going to be same category as Dean Malenko. Was on the roster in 2001, but wasn't really utilized. In fact, despite having ties to both WCW and ECW, he wasn't even used in the invasion angle, and that's soon to be Mr. X Division himself, Jerry Lynn, and his entrance music. Lynn was always this whole package as a in-ring performer, arguably one of the top 15 guys in the world for a brief period of time. But for whatever reason, both WWE and even TNA eventually never saw him as a main eventer, but he did have several tag team title runs in at least 2, and as well as a X Division run in TNA. So at least he was able to get that light heavyweight stink off of him. But he could have had a lot more success in WWE if they actually cared about him and guys like Dean Malenko. Marcus, next one up.
All right, I'm going with the Japanese buzzsaw to Jerry, man. To Jerry, I clearly may have never gotten into more mid-card heavyweight contention. He was the man. The kick, the mist, the tarantula, all that stuff, and just a lot of the mysteriousness around him he was able to keep. And unfortunately for him, he would again fall prey to the stereotypical garbage that comes with Vinnie Mac booking. But at a time, man, he was somebody to really be feared on that roster, man. So definitely certainly one of my favorite people to play on the game because of that buzzsaw kick. So yeah, man, to Jerry,
Marcus, you're not going to see my last one coming. You're not. Like, if I gave you 3 guesses, you wouldn't get any of them. But I can tell you, you're only going to need one, and that's the one. Matt Hardy. What a great idea for a Cruiserweight champion to put Matt Hardy in there with a have-to-have weight cut idea attached to it. Yeah, it was a great idea. It gave him a great little run with Rey Mysterio for the belt, and it makes him one. Excuse me. It makes him one of the few guys who has won World Heavyweight Title Gold in TNA and Cruiserweight Title Gold in WWE. In fact, if I'm thinking about it, I think he's actually the only one. Jeff Hardy kind of qualifies if you want to count the light heavyweight belt, but I don't. Marcus, last one up.
Stand back. It's Shane Helms. Yeah, man, Shane Helms, man. Talk about somebody throughout his career. Seems like a good guy on and off camera, but definitely made himself a multi-tool player. Obviously, we know what he could do as the Hurricane and his comedic stylings with that, and he literally has some of the all-time classic WWE segments with The Rock and the like. But his stint, I think, in like the mid to later 2000s is Shane Helms with the do-rag and the all black, and I think he got a lengthy run with the Cruiserweight Championship. It really showed that he could kick it into another gear and be serious and kind of come out of that Hurricane gimmick and make people take him seriously. And it was needed at the time, because that was one of the better reigns. Because after him, I mean, we know eventually where it ended up. So, I think he really brought some legitimacy back to that title. And like I said, he's a multi-tool player. So, shout out to Shane Helms, man.
Unfortunately, I think it was a broken neck that ended his title run, if I remember correctly. It's just a damn shame because, like you said, like the belt would hop around and eventually end up on Hornswoggle. What a waste of a belt. So that's it for this week, Marcus. Good job. We'll see you. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Hope you guys enjoyed the content this week. Be sure to check out the website at realnerdcorp.com, RealNerdCorp.com. We're on Twitter at NerdCorp, on Instagram at Real NerdCorp. Links to the podcasts from this week are on the website. Everything else is down below that you need to know. Marcus, you can be found on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
That is I.
You can also find him on it's been a long week in the span of 50 minutes. You can also find him on his other podcast on The True Penny Show on Twitter at TruePennyShow. And you can find me on Twitter at Chad NerdCorp, ChadNerdCorp, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo Hut, ChadS. PHOTOHUT. That's it. That's all we got for you guys. Marcus, take us home.
Good night.